Well, howdy there, folks. This is your host, ID Jester. Thanks for checking out the video. We're counting down the 18 most powerful heroes in Marvel Heroes 2015 edition as of patch 1.85. Good old Doctor Doom was number 9, and now we're going to be looking at the eighth most powerful hero in the game is dun 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 Wolverine. Wolverine is number 8. Alrighty, let's take a look at Wolverine. Good old Wolverine is kind of, you know what's good about him? What's the expression? Lived through the best of times, the worst of times. He hasn't, I don't think he's been updated for a while, but his mechanics still make him a nice, viable hero. Number 1, I just can't say this enough. His Furious Assault is every 15 seconds. That's right, 15 seconds. Every 15 seconds, you can activate this 8 times and do a huge amount of damage. So, literally, by the time you activate all your other powers, your signature power is back up and you're activating it again, and then you're doing your other powers and activating it again. It is huge, huge, just having this power every 15 seconds. It's almost to the point where it's broken. It's so good. The problem that Wolverine and some of the other melee heroes happens to be that you can miss your melee attack if you go to, if you're targeting, say, Taskmaster and he kind of lunges out of there, you can end up missing a lot of your DPS. So fortunately, if you can get the hits off on the enemy, you can do a nice bit of damage. And not only that, of course, he's got the Impale power, which is a huge amount of damage, and his Eviscerate powers. I mean, these kind of energize off of his, Furious Assault. He has a really, really good passive power, which gives him, obviously some critical hit rating, some brutal strike rating. Very nice power. Why Wolverine isn't higher on the list is because, well, a couple things. Number 1, he doesn't have any of the newer mechanics, as you can see. He has very little power to area damage or damage over time. Very little of that. Most of his attacks, are boom, I'm doing this much damage. Boom, I'm doing this much damage. I'm not doing damage over time, which, he does have a little bit. He has the Bloody Claws, which will do some damage over time. And his only area powers are either Bloody Sweep or Rending Sweep, one or the other. These are his only area powers that I think he even has in the whole game. He doesn't have a lot of powers. I mean, we just looked at Doctor Doom, who had, like, in each category, had like 8 powers. For Wolverine, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And some of these powers are, this is a travel power, which is nothing. He just doesn't have a lot of powers to choose from, which is fine, because that way you can really focus in on what you want. It doesn't give you a lot of build options, I guess is what I'm saying. He has 2 really, really good passive powers in the game. The Unstoppable Beast and, of course, the Chuden no Kamai. These 2 are really, really good passive powers. You're not wasting a lot of points on a bunch of passive powers. You're just focusing in on putting all your points into doing damage. And the Eviscerate, I think these powers do a lot of damage. The Impale and the Eviscerate, because you're not, you don't have a lot of area powers or damage over time. Unfortunately, you can miss your Impale or you can miss your Eviscerate, and that's a lot of damage you're leaving down on the table. So I guess his mechanic is this whole grievous wounds. It's going to do extra damage, so obviously we're going to actually. I thought I had the Bloody Sweep as his main area attack, which opened the Grievous Wounds, and for some reason I have points in this one. Oh well. Anyways, you can choose one of those two. Probably you're going to choose Bloody Claws and Bloody Sweep. I'm not sure why I went with this combo. You're either choosing this combo here between the Swift Claws and the Rending Sweep, or you're choosing the Bloody Sweep and the Bloody Claws. I'm not sure why my points are over here instead of over here. I probably did that, and I'll have to adjust it. Oh yes, he has another passive power. I've almost forgot about the Adamantium Skeleton, which of course is what Wolverine is known for. Another huge buff. Just all passive powers there that are going to make him very, very tough. Very, very enjoyable. Like I said, he would probably be a little bit higher up on the list if he could. He could get, if we could make sure he didn't lose DPS when he's trying to target enemies. If you can make sure. But occasionally I'll miss Eviscerate, or I'll miss an Impale, or I'll miss my Furious Lunge Assaults on enemies. And so that's a little DPS on the table that we don't need to, be wasting. He does have another passive effect over here, but it also has a really nice buff effect. So you want to activate your Wet Works, and then basically that'll energize your Furious Assault, your Eviscerate, and of course your Impale. So, that nice little buff, extra attack and move speed, some critical hit rating, physical damage rating, buff lasts for 7 seconds. You can activate this, get out 8 of your attacks from your Furious Assault, lunge in there with your Impale, maybe do an Eviscerate if you have time, extra damage. Overall, I mean, he's a very easy character. He has a super quick lunge power, and again, like a lot of the heroes that we're looking at in the top 18, they just don't lunge forward. There's something else. It does damage and it does something. Oh, it knocks enemies down for 1.2 seconds. Oh yeah, don't forget, it also gives you movement speed bonus of 13.1% for 15 seconds. So a lot of heroes out there, instead of just lunging forward, that's all they get. There's little bonuses that make these heroes in the top 18 power-wise. If you look at his stats, stat-wise, 44% damage reduction, pretty decent, not bad, considering he has over 3,000 damage rating, which is, pretty reasonable. Not bad number at all. A lot of heroes wish they had that number. And of course his stat line, obviously we're focusing in on all strength and all fighting, kind of mainstay, which is, because you're focusing in, it really lets you, focus in and not waste points on other things. Damage rating wise, or I'm sorry, stat rating wise, 42.4% with his melee critical hits. I think that's obviously a little bit low. We would like to get that a little bit higher. And Brutal Strike's right where it needs to be, 52.5%. Obviously, we'd like to get that a little bit higher. His critical hit rating seems to be a little bit low. Obviously, we could try to work on getting that a little bit higher with his, maybe his insignia of Wolverine. Maybe we could find one that fits him a little bit better, or change out some critical damage rating, or whatever we need to do to try and focus in and get that melee critical hit rating just a little bit higher. It's a little bit low, and that's probably why he is number 8 on our most powerful heroes. He does a nice bit of damage. He's very quick. He gets around quick. Unfortunately, it does cost spirit. We just talked about that when we looked at Venom not too long ago. The ability for Venom to get from area to area and not have to waste a bunch of spirit. In this case, Wolverine, it does cost him a bunch of fury to get from one area to another. So when he gets that location, he won't have a full amount of fury to use all of his really, really good powers. Now, I saved his ultimate power for last for a reason, because I think it's a debate on, is his power really, really good, or is it not really, really good? Well, yes and no is my answer for that, because it changes every one of his hits into a critical hit, which is great, because normally, we just looked at this, our critical hit rating is only 42% of the time. So we're basically getting that 42% increased up to 100% all the time, which is awesome. The problem is, that it doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be brutal striking all the time. Having that extra critical hit all the time is great, and because we have a huge brutal strike rating of 52.5%, having that critical chance go up to 100% then gives us a 52% chance that basically every one of our attacks is then going to brutal strike, which is very, very good. So that's, I think, why I was focusing more on the brutal strike than I was on the critical hit chance, because of his ultimate power. Obviously, every 9.8 minutes we can energize this, and the rest of the boost is, the buff is kind of nice. It only lasts for 20 seconds. But basically, during that time, you can spam out a lot of damage. There is no damage associated with this whatsoever. It is just a huge buff. So, I wish it would do something else to maybe make it just slightly better. Like, for example, an area around him, it makes all enemies vulnerable, so they'll take 10% more damage, or something like that. It just needs that little extra oomph. And that's why Wolverine ends up being in number 8 spot of our 8 most powerful heroes in the game. Wolverine, number 8 most powerful hero in the game. Who will be number 7? So come back and watch that episode to come shortly. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.